Hello, this is Sunday, December 18th, 2016, and it looks like these are just some notes. And I don't know where this is from, but I guess just know that these are not my words. The development of consciousness requires awareness and action, will. A wise fish proactively swims with the flow and makes great progress. A stupid fish actually actively swims against the flow and gets nowhere, just very tired. A sleeping fish passively goes with the flow, but learns nothing because he is asleep, because his eyes are closed. Karma equals the suffering that we bring upon ourselves by choosing the ego's path. Here's a quote from Carl Jung in The Undiscovered Self. You cannot solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. The ego is a mind-created problem, so it cannot be solved by the mind. It must go higher to the pure awareness of our soul, the self's field of consciousness. I think those are notes, esoteric notes from Lee Bladen. Monday, December 19th, 2016. Ways to help lessen our identification with the ego self. Challenge your thoughts. Don't automatically assume that just because you thought it, you have to believe it and buy into it. Most thoughts are unnecessary hindrances that don't serve at all. When you notice such thoughts, silently say to yourself, "That's not me." Don't take things personally. Our psychological patterns are simply being activated by someone else's patterns. It's just reactivity. Forgive everyone and everything. You can't change what has happened, and it has happened either to further your evolution or as a result of your ego patterns. So why hold on to the personal feeling of victimhood? Be selfless. Put other people's needs ahead of your own and dedicate part of your life to serving or helping others. Be authentic. Have fewer preferences, opinions, and beliefs, especially about things that don't really matter. Change the question. Instead of asking, how can I become self-realized? Ask, what am I doing that is keeping me from being self-realized? Thursday, December 22nd, 2016. Yesterday was the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, and the first day of winter. I'm up early this morning and feel well rested. Today, I head out for my trip down to Florida for Christmas, so I've got a lot of getting ready to do. But I wanted to take some time to center myself this morning before I start feeling all rushed to pack and get ready. I was feeling a little down on myself because I'm still having a hard time breaking bad habits. My evening routine is the thing bothering me the most because it is indicative of how I handle stress. This week has actually gone really well, I think primarily because my attitude has shifted. With the insight that one of the best ways to reduce the ego's hold is by or through service to others, came the realization that my job is the perfect place to practice that. Something shifted, and I have been able to be a lot more patient and a lot more giving in my work, which Maya even noticed. Maya's the little girl, which makes me cringe. Side note, the fact that the little girl noticed my deeper engagement at work made me cringe because that means that she was noticing my disengagement before. But anyway, I see how much of an effect my demeanor has on the kids, so I'm going to try to keep that going when I get back. So this week wasn't all that stressful at work, but I still am in such a habit of coming home and tuning out. The evening would be such a great time to do this spiritual work, but for some reason I just don't seem to want to after work. This work is hard. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it, in fact. In fact, I can actually say that I enjoy it, but it can be emotionally exhausting. So I don't know if I'm just being lazy or if I do need to take breaks from it. But either way, I'm not entirely pleased with my evening pattern. So because I really end up doing little of this work during the week, I wanted to get a little in this morning because frankly, I feel a bit deprived. I actually look forward to the weekend because I know I will have unhurried time to work on this stuff. There's a little gap. And then there was another part that was coming up the other day, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to dive in and get to know it, but it had something to do with the judgmental part of me. More specifically, it had to do with the way that I assume the worst in people. I know it's got to be a protective mechanism. I think it came around the time that I was an older kid, and because I was constantly disappointed in the people around me, more specifically the adults around me, the ones that should have been looking out for me and taking care of me. So this seems like it might be a layered part on top of another one. This part is the judge, I think. Wow, the judge is a protective part, I think, protecting the perfectionist, the one with the incredibly high standards. The perfectionist is a coping structure. So what essential personality quality is it filling in the hole for? It doesn't appear that I answer my own question. There's another little gap. And then, so the process is that, as far as I can understand it, our consciousness was too young and innocent to be able to handle the core wounds. So the part of our soul that was trying to develop into an essential quality at that time, the part that was hurt by the core wound, was exiled because our young consciousness didn't have the capacity to cope with the distressed part. In banishing the part of our soul, we left a hole which the ego filled with an ego structure, a coping part, to try to make up for that missing essential quality. There are oftentimes protective ego structures created next to the exile to keep the exile from distressing the rest of the ego structure with its constant state of fear that it is frozen in. In order to heal the parts, one must heal the exile that the other parts are associated with. Once the exile is healed, there is no need for the associated parts, and they will disappear. Healing the exile comes down to merging our soul with that exiled piece of soul so that it realizes it is actually a piece of the soul, and then it will reintegrate. This is done using our presence and awareness. Awareness is used to find the place in the body that the exile is residing, but then the pure presence of our soul must merge with the part to reintegrate it. Presence is essential for most of the healing work, therefore it must be practiced. It's incredibly important. I think that's a excuse me. I think that's a note from something. I wasn't planning on anybody else seeing this but me, so I didn't do very good at giving credit where credit is due. But I think this is still Lieb-Laden esoteric stuff. So presence is essential for most of the healing work and therefore must be practiced. And it's incredibly important. Practicing presence. This is more notes, I think, from Lieb-Laden. Practicing presence. Spread your awareness throughout your entire body and sense the subtle but palpable presence of your soul. Watch, notice, and feel whatever arises without any agenda. You are an impartial observer. Don't try to do anything or achieve anything during the practice. Don't analyze, assess, judge, or criticize anything, including yourself, during or after the practice. All you have to do is feel your awareness spread throughout your body and notice what arises. That is it. If you are doing anything more, you are doing too much. Feel it to heal it. This body-centered approach is a very simple yet effective way of working with emotional parts, i.e. exiles and distracting ego structures. Number 1, connect with presence. Before you begin, take a few really deep breaths and center yourself. Connect with your soul by closing your eyes, spreading your awareness throughout your entire body, and feeling your soul's presence. Number 2, open invitation. Gently invite your wounded parts, conditioned behaviors, reactive emotions, and distorted beliefs to show themselves. Reassure them that it is safe to come out. Let them know that you would really like to get to know them and that they don't have to be alone or afraid anymore. Invite them to tell you or show you their story. Number 3, pure awareness. Pay attention to whatever arises, then move your awareness/presence into it. Really feel it and intimately merge with it so that there is no separation. You and the feeling are one, but in a non-identified way, i.e., you feel it completely, but you're not overwhelmed by it. Maintaining pure awareness enables your sense of identity to remain distinct from the feeling while still feeling it fully. It is a pure and intimate connection, but it is still objective. Number 4, healing with loving presence. Acknowledge the part, reassure it, be with it, hold it, comfort it, accept it, and love it. Loving presence really helps to heal your relationship with the part. You were too afraid to fully feel its pain all those years ago because your young and undeveloped consciousness didn't have the capacity. Now, as an adult, you easily have the capacity to feel pain and distress. The only thing that might stop you from maintaining an intimate connection is if you become over-identified with the traumatized part and allow its fear to overwhelm you. Establishing a deep connection with your soul's presence before you begin reduces the chances of emotional flooding, but it does still happen sometimes. Number 5, reintegration. Allow your soul's presence to dissolve into the part, and allow the part to dissolve into your presence. The exiled piece of soul will reunite with the rest of your soul, and the mental, emotional, and energetic components will dissolve and reunite with their representative subtle bodies. Note, inviting in essential qualities such as love, joy, and strength deepen our connection with our soul and increase its healing and reintegrative effect. In healing work, the soul doesn't have to do anything. Its intimate presence is all that is required. Psychological healing is the healing of a wounded relationship, the relationship between the soul and the part. Exiles. Every exiled part is animated by a piece of soul that has forgotten it is soul. The piece of soul feels like it is wounded and traumatized because it is identified with the exiled part, but soul cannot actually be wounded. The soul's presence helps the piece of soul to awaken from its misidentification with the exiled part, at which point its lack of wounding is immediately apparent and it reunites with the rest of the soul. Without the piece of soul to hold it together, the mental, emotional, and energetic aspects of the exiled part soon dissolve and reintegrate within their respective subtle bodies. Okay, I'm going to end there. See you on the next one.